My name is Viviane. I will just briefly introduce myself. I'm a photographer based in Amsterdam, and I study fine arts, photography and fashion. I both work in commercial photography, doing a lot of fashion photography and portraits, and I have an agency here in London called BPB, who represent me for my commercial work. And I also have a gallery in Amsterdam, Motive Gallery, and they represent me as an artist for my personal work. And since 2001, I've been traveling to Africa, where I lived when I was a child. And recently I published the book Flamoya, Martin told you about as well. And I always try to find the balance between the commercial work I do and the art photography I do, which is not always easy, I think. I thought it would be nice to guide you through a bit of my work by showing how I use the photographic medium. And first of all, this is really about my way of exploring shadows in my photographs. It's all started with this picture, which I took in Kisumu in 2001, I believe. And it occurred to me that somehow the non-physical of the shadow can make shapes and have a meaning. So it's not the use of light, but the use of shadow instead. And the shadow kind of became my obsession in a way. So then I took this picture a while after, and I'm sorry, I just have to. So I'm always interested in the story which is not told, and in the things that's scary covered in a way. So this is the picture Kathleen, and I used the light screen to make a shadow on her face. So instead of using the light screen to bounce the light on her face, I was hiding her face. And this made me think of the presence and the absence of a person in a photographic portrait. I was wondering if photography, as many people think, is the right way to really tell something about a person, and if it's the most accurate tool to portray a person in the most truthful way. And for me, I think it's not. Then, after I made the picture you just saw, Kathleen, I went back to Kenya, and this one was made in Tanzania, actually, in Arusha. And this one as well. And somehow it intrigued me how the image of black women in Western media was so underexposed. So this is, in a way, it's almost like a literal translation of that issue. And when I took this picture, I discovered that the shadow referred to things which were much bigger than my own personal motives. And suddenly I became aware that this photographic technical approach of the shadows wasn't only a formal or aesthetic tool, but also became kind of a political statement. And this use of shadows became a tool to make a person into kind of symbol instead of by hiding their facial expressions. And yeah, for me, a much more universal image appeared. It's not about the particular person anymore. He or she represents an idea, so it's much more about the universal instead of the personal. And yeah, I always try to get a certain tension between that what we see and what we don't see. And still also then, yeah, for instance here, it's really about what we don't see. And for me it was for me it was also an aesthetic tool, the use of shadows. And it became also a way of making drawings almost. Drawings with light and shape, for instance, here in Rosa. And then I also began to explore different ways of using artificial elements in my pictures, like color and pigment, and trying to create images which refer to the iconographic and the mythical almost. And, so some of the pictures are really very constructed. And I often use a sketchbook, making drawings, and then later on explaining my models what exactly it is what I have in mind. And but while working and taking pictures, I always hope for the unexpected. Like for instance, this was the idea of a kind of horizon, and then in the end I just took another angle and I thought it was much more interesting. So a lot of people think that I use Photoshop, but I don't. I think I'm just much more interested in manipulating my pictures on sets, just on the shoot itself, and work with the real elements which are there, like the light and composition, and directing the people. And yeah, I think I prefer the trial and error, and the mistakes and the unexpected. So I choose not to have the freedom of creating everything, which I think you can with Photoshop, but yeah. So I'm not really such a technical photographer. But I know what I like. And, I'm sorry. I can't really explain what I'm trying to say, I think. But yeah, I always use my Mamiya camera, the analogue film, and I don't use digital, except for my commissions that I work with digital camera. Okay, I think that's it.
One of the things, of course, about this Biennale, which has become very much part of our core activity, is that we printed every picture in the Biennale digitally with the association with Parr. They sponsored their input into the exhibition. They gave us the machine, they gave us the paper and the ink. And what's interesting is that Viviane traditionally uses secrets, and we did digital prints for you.
Yeah.
How did you find them?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, they're amazing. No, really. Yeah.
So, because previously we did have this discussion whereby, we said we want to make the prints. Do you mind if you take the files, group print them digitally? You must have been a little nervous.
Kind of, but I think. I mean, if I ever really make a print for selling, I do secrets. But then I think every different medium has its own weight. So I was totally fine with it. I think I see it more as exhibiting in a magazine or in a book, instead of like this is the real print that is for sale. So you just use different standards.
But we don't want to think the standards are lower. Because, I mean, if anyone's seen the prints in London Road at Clark, Viviane's prints are absolutely stunning, aren't they? I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I really love the digital print you did, but I also like to print it on a Hanemuller paper, which is a bit different than the sequins I usually make when I do my work. But then, I think for me, the analog sequence in the end, it's really like my end. It's like the ultimate way to produce my pictures, especially with all the shadows in my work. It's somehow, I feel that still the really, really black parts of the picture really stands out just the most beautifully in sequence.
No, don't worry, you're not obliged to say, oh no, I love digital.
Yeah.
No, but this is really one of the things of what we're exploring this morning, is the difference and what the pros and cons of all these things.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much.
You're welcome.